watch shows like The Sandlot or It's a Wonderful Life, those ones are, you feel a little more connected to those because that was a lot more like your youth, right?
Yeah, no question.
Gaggle of boys running around the neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
Playing baseball and gone all day and only coming home at night, or the George Bailey type towns where, you know, you've got the main street and the couple of nice big houses for some well-to-do people, but everybody else is out in the potter's fields with a little tiny 1,000 square foot home type stuff.
Yeah. We definitely were outside.
Yep, there's Nicole's house.
Yep. That's working out good for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're enjoying it. I mean, it's still just the two of them and a renter in the basement, but, you know, they're still really young.
Yeah.
I think Nicole turns 27 here in a couple of weeks, and Malachi's a couple years older than her. So, no big deal. They're doing just fine. Anyway, so It's a Wonderful Life and Sandlot, that kind of thing. Those are another one that I watched a movie with you that you said kind of hit home was A Christmas Story with Ralphie and Shoot Your Eye Out and all that stuff.
Yep.
Dad was an Oldsmobile man, and you know what kind of cars? You said your dad got his first car. It was a Rambler.
Yep.
How long did he keep that one for?
Well, not very long.
Something happened to it? Because you said he usually keeps things and takes good care of them.
Oh, he did. No, I'm not sure, but I think he just couldn't afford it, so he sold it. He had a 48 Jeep that he had forever, 483,000 miles.
It was like picked it up from the war surplus type thing?
No, he bought it in the 50s, early 50s. He just had it that long.
Oh.
It was amazing. He never replaced all of the oil in it. He devised a filtering system for his oil because my dad, this is a quote from my dad, oil never loses its ability to lubricate. All it does is get dirty. So if you can keep it clean, you don't need to change it. So Dad had this filtering system that he made, and the filter itself was a roll of toilet paper. And once a month, my dad would take the lid off of the deal, take out the old toilet paper and throw it away, and take a brand new roll of toilet paper and put it in, and then he'd go and add a quart of oil. Now
just top it off.
Yeah, just to top it off, because you lost that when you took out the filter. And anyway,
well, there must have been something to it if he drove it 400-something thousand miles.
Oh, well, and again, he was a machinist. He knew what the hell he was talking about. He knew about lubricants. He knew about friction and how things did or didn't do. You know. But yeah, the only reason he gave up the Jeep then is it rusted off of
off the frame.
Off the frame. It actually came off the frame. But that was a nasty old car. But anyway, it was his baby forever. We had usually a different car that was the family car, because his Jeep was usually loaded up with all the stuff he needed to do his job.
Well, when your parents were first married, they didn't have a car, and it sounds like even after they had a couple of kids, and you guys had a horse. When you had that property in Bountiful, did he have a car then?
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't like you guys had a buggy that you hooked up to the horse and drove around.
No.
You weren't horse and buggy people.
No.
1950s cars were pretty commonplace.
Yeah. Dad drove, but Mom never drove. I tried to teach her in '63, but I did get her behind the wheel, and she managed to run over the curb, and she probably was behind the wheel about 50 feet. And then she just panicked, and so I took it back. Up here, we camped. There was nothing up here. It was just like this everywhere. And you had these canyons that had these little creeks running down, and the state liked to plant fish in them, and we used to like to catch them. This up here was what we referred to as Bountiful Flats. These roads weren't here. These roads came with the houses. But there used to be able to drive up here by a dirt road. And this is a place where the young people, teenagers, would come up here and throw cake parties and that kind of stuff, because you could see down the valley and the lights. And if you saw lights coming up, you knew that they were coming up to break up the
authorities are
party.
coming to break up the party, huh?
Yeah. And the flats now are the temple.
Bountiful Temple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's touch more upon 10 to
Okay.
your emancipated years.
Okay. We're coming on it now. I want to show you over here. On very close to where your mother used to live was North Canyon Park, and up there they had a little cabin that was owned by the Calder family, and it was very small, but it had bunk beds in it, and it had a pump that was in a well that you had to prime the pump, and there was a cup that when you used it, there was water in this cup to prime the pump, and we'd use it. We just passed your mother's. Yeah. But you had to prime the pump. Well, we went up there one time and somebody hadn't left any water in the cup.
Or it evaporated, one of the two, huh?
So, where do you get water when you don't have any water?
So somebody had to pee to prime the pump?
Prime the pump, yeah. And we left water where we lived. But we used to go up there. One time we went up there, it was occupied by a family of skunks. And so we had to get the skunks out before we could get us a place to stay. But we'd hike up there. It's about 3 miles. We'd hike from where we lived up this canyon right here. This is Mueller Park. This also used to be where they took, this road used to be real high hills. There were 2 of them, and super for sledding. And when they built the highway, they took the dirt out of this canyon and smoothed out the bumps that used to be here for the great sledding. And made the freeway with it. And at one point in time, your Aunt Lois and Roger lived on this street on that side. Okay, let's see. Let me get geared. Okay. Junior high. We came back from Arizona, and that year was my first year in junior high, 7th grade. And I made the 7th grade basketball team, and I was the worst player on the team. And this is a place where I need to talk about a guy named Bernard Neil Hansen. He's absolutely one of my heroes. And I might not be able to talk about Bernard and drive. But he was the coach at South Davis Junior High, and he took an interest in me. I don't know why, but he did, and told me give up basketball. He said, why don't you try football? And I'd really never played football other than just in the neighborhood. But football came very naturally for me. And I was pretty good. And then, of course, also towards the end of the year, I went out for baseball. And Bernard Hansey, before he became a junior high school coach, he'd been a professional baseball player and never really did anything big with it, but he was good. But he coached me and he helped me, and he was there a lot of times when I didn't have a dad to do things with me, and he was a very special guy to me. And later on, he went to be the announcer for the youth football team and youth sports. And then he retired to Arizona, and he's since deceased. But he was a real special guy to me.
Well, you said you played football. What positions did you play?
Football, I played line. Offensive line was actually, when I got to high school, offensive line. Prior to that, I played both ways, but once I got to high school, they specialized a little more.
And you were always a pretty good sized kid for your age?
Yeah.
Is that why football came so natural?
That maybe, but
I mean, what would you say in your prime? You were what, 6'1"?
no, 6. I never got to 6'1", but I did hit 6, and I did hit 255 pounds. That, and now I have been heavier than 255 pounds since, but not in the shape I was in then.
Yeah.
I was really in shape, and
But that was the basketball coach that steered you towards football and then later baseball.
well, he was the baseball coach too, but he was my gym class teacher also.
And this was all in junior high?
Junior high. 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
So he wasn't your baseball coach in high school, just
No.
getting you through.
No, he got me. In fact, he was my nemesis, because when he left South Davis Junior High, he went to Clearfield High School and became the baseball coach. So I got to play against him. In fact, I remember I only had one at bat against him. I came to bat bountiful against Clearfield. And one of the things I usually could do is put my bat on the ball, but when I went to the plate to bat, Neil went to the mound to talk to the pitcher. I don't know what he told me, but I tell you, he struck me out with 3 curveballs in a row. That was the easiest out they had that day.
All right, so he helped steer your athletic career in junior high. And when you say years without a dad, it's just that your dad was busy doing his thing and you were busy doing your thing. The two of you just were opposites, like oil and water. Because your dad was just a little guy. How big was your dad?
5'7".
5'7" and 150 pounds tops.
Yep. He wasn't very big.
You were bigger than him by what, age 14?
16.
16.
Or no, by 13.
By 13,
14.
You were as big as your dad or bigger.
Yep. And by 15, I was much bigger and much stronger. I was really in good shape there. But and that's when I came to work for Slim Wilson's.
At what age?
14.
At 14, you went to work for Slim Wilson. So for those that don't know what Slim Olson's is,
It's a world. At the time, it was touted as the world's largest gas station.
that's where we're pulling into now.
Yep.
So this is the location.
Yep.
Is it roughly the same footprint still with all this parking lot around here?
This is the old office building, and this is the warehouse. And I'll show you the original station. There's a square over here that shows you the imprint of the original station. Gotta find it. Oh, it may be right there where they're building that tree rack. But they used to have the restrooms were right there, and they had really nice restrooms that were had showers and that kind of stuff because we did a lot of truck business.
So back before Flying J and other truck stops, Slim Olson's kind of established itself as a premier station, because you said, what was it in its heyday? 64 gas pumps or something?
No, 58 I think is the when they hit. And we were at 43. The sign used to say world largest 43 pumps.
43 gas pumps.
And then Covey, who was the arch enemy of Slim, who had Covey's Little America up in Wyoming, also used to have one on State Street, or on Beck Street. When he built Little America up in Wyoming, he took it to 55 pumps, and that was the day that Slim ordered, we're going to 58. So we had some more pumps. But it was kind of a fun feud between those two guys.
So you went to work at age 14 at Slim Olson's.
Yep.
And that was such a good enough career. Is that the point where you started earning more money than your dad?
Yep.
By that, because that was a steady thing. You'd go to school, you'd work and go to school, and you worked enough hours that you were outperforming your dad paycheck-wise at 14.
Yeah, my Slim really liked me. There was two of us, really. There was a guy named David Thiel, they referred to him as Spanky, and me, that Slim just took a liking to me. I don't know, I didn't really do anything special.
Didn't you say Roy worked at Slim Olson's first?
Yeah.
So you think Roy might have paved the way a little bit for his little brother to come along? Or at least
yes, and yeah, there's no question about that, because the foreman's Dutch Van Rye, who was a neighbor, who also knew my family, was there when Roy was there, and Joe Myers, the night shift foreman, was there when Roy was there, and Hal Sheffield was a co-worker and later became the afternoon shift manager. And where I lived, right there where U-Haul is now, there used to be the Rangeview Motel, and I lived in Unit 6.
Okay, so now we're basically talking about you being emancipated. So
yeah, we're getting there right now.
So let's talk about that. Did you have a blow up with your dad, or what happened that you became emancipated?
Well, I went down to the Lincoln Mercury store. I turned 16, and I got my driver's license. I've been driving since I was 14, but.
Well, let's touch on that. You bought your first car, a 39 Plymouth?
Yep, 14 years old. I bought it from a lady up on Moss's Hill, Fifth South, that had it. Me and another friend were doing yard work for her, and she had this 39 Plymouth Coupe in her garage. And I asked her about the car, and she told me that I could buy it. And so I said, how much? And she said, I'll trade you for the work that you did. And I said, okay. So Greg Holbrook was with me, and I paid him $10, and I got the car. And I drove that for a while.
And you were 14?
Mm-hmm.
14 years old, you bought a car, you didn't have a driver's license. I mean, you had to be 16 to get a driver's license, right?
Yeah. I didn't have a driver's license. And, I didn't know anything about titles. I had the title, but I never changed it into anybody's name. I mean...
So here you are, 14-year-old, driving around Bountiful in a car you basically got for $10 because you had to pay your buddy.
Yeah.
From, I don't know, was she a widow or something? Was it her husband's old car or something?
Yeah, it was her husband's old car.
And so 39 Plymouth, ran just fine.
Oh, yeah.
And you drove it around for how long before?
Well, I probably got away with it for about 7 months before I got caught. And the state impounded the car. And then I bought a 54 Chevy, and I did the same thing with that. But again, I'm making some pretty good money, and I'm saving it. Now I decide I'm getting my license. I actually drove to get my license at the fairgrounds out on the west side of town in my 54 Chevy. I took my driving test in my 54 Chevy, and after I went through their deal for the driving test, and the guy signed me off, he says, "Well, where's your dad?" I said, "Dad." I said, "No, I'm here by myself." "Well, how'd you get here? You don't have a license." Oh. Anyway, I got through.
You left with a license. You didn't show up with one.
Yeah. So then I decided I wanted a brand new car. And I had the money. And the Bountiful Motors right down here. Dennis King was the salesman, and he was a boyfriend of Lois's. Earlier, I mean, Lois is married now, but had been.
But he's a past boyfriend, huh?
Yeah. And I knew Dennis, and I ran around with his younger brother, Butch King. And Butch is another good story. But when I went to buy the car, I had the money, but they couldn't sell it to me.
Because you couldn't enter into a legal contract because you were less than 18 years old?
That's right. Said you have to get your parents to co-sign. I said, "Oh yeah." I don't think so. But so anyway, I went to my dad and I said, "I want to buy this car," and I got the money to buy it. And will you co-sign? And he says, "No, I'm co-signing." I said, "Okay." Well, it just so happened that Dad had a friend. His name was Ted Bradford, and he was an attorney. And Dad, I knew him, and I'd known of him, and so I went to Ted and I said, "This is my situation." He said, "That's no big deal." He said, "If it's okay with your dad." He called Dad. Dad said, "I don't give a crap."
Well, I just won't do it, but...
Yeah, as long as it doesn't tie me. Yeah. In fact, Dad kind of got some fun out of it a little later, but anyway, Ted Bradford made up these papers. I signed them. Dad signed them. He took them up to the judge up in Farmington, and he signed off on it. Voila! Now I'm emancipated.
Oh, so it wasn't that you had some gigantic blowout with your dad. It's that you wanted to buy this car. He wasn't really looking to back you on it, and so the attorney said, "Well, if we make him an emancipated minor, doesn't matter if he's 18 or not, he can make his own decision to buy his own car and whatnot."
Yep, exactly.
And your dad's like, "Okay, I have no problem with my son being independent. I'll sign off on it."
Yeah. Another time I got picked up in a little bit of there was a party up at this one kid's house, and it kind of got out of hand, and the cops show up and round everybody up. They take us down to City Hall, and they don't have enough cells, so they put us all in the library, which is in the same building. And we're sitting in there in the library, and everybody's parents have to come get them out, And the people keep coming, and then they keep leaving, and before long it's just me and the cop that's on the desk at the little cop station there. He said, when your dad coming? That's not coming, man. I'm telling you, my dad is not coming. And he didn't. So, like, next day, Chief Anderson gets there. He said, oh, what's he doing here? I said, I tried to explain to him that my dad isn't going to come get me out. And he said, yeah, it's all right. Let him go. Yeah, I had a personal relationship with Chief Anderson. He treated me pretty good. In fact, he made a promise to me one time. He said, when you turn 21, I want you to come back because I want to give you back all the stuff that we've impounded from you over the years. I said, I think that's a great idea. And I did go back after, and he said, oh, I'm sorry. We cleaned that out about a month ago.
Just missed it, huh?
Another one was the first time your mother met Chief Anderson. Your mother found a wallet and it had a couple $100 in it. And so she took it down to the police station. And she went there and she said, I want this wallet, and this is where I found it. Chief Anderson was standing there. And they said, what's your name? And she says, Beth Baldwin. He says, are you Ross's sister? See, my sister was Beth Baldwin. Julia Beth Baldwin. She went by Beth early in her life.
Okay.
And she says, no, I'm his wife. Yeah. She came home and told me that. I just laughed. Because he and I got along.
Julia went by her middle name, huh?
Well, no, we gave her, Dad called her Beth. She was always Beth for me. As long as I lived with her, she was Beth. I didn't learn about Julia, and I remember Julia Beth was her name, but they called her Beth. But when she got married, and after I was married, I had to learn that she was Julia, which I never really did. Well, anyways.
So you're emancipated legally, not because of some big conflict, but when you do have a conflict with your dad, it's already in place.
Yeah.
So you're
no. The conflict came before that. I was out. I had self-emancipated like Roy and living over here.
Okay.
And that came after, that was back when I left. I'd been up to the Boy Scout camp up at Siner, up in Mirror Lake. Went up there with the Boy Scouts, and we got a little rowdy up there, and we got kind of doing battle with this other group, and we went over, and up there they have these three-sided cabins, and the front's open, and it's got one post that holds the roof up.
In the middle of where instead of the one that's open, no wall on it, it has a single post in the center.
Yep.
Holding up like the I beam or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's bunks down this side and bunks down this side. Anyway, we took and put a bunch of logs and twigs and stuff around that post on the front, and we lit it. We just thought this would be funny. Nobody around to put it out. Damn thing burned that post down. Cabin fell in.
Oh no.
I don't know why, but they immediately thought of me. And
you're what, 12?
No, I'm 14. No, I'm 15.
You're 15 now, huh?
Just right. That. Well, maybe I'm 14. I guess I'm 14.
14, turning 15, and
turning 15. Yeah. Anyway,
burn this cabin down.
Yep, and they. I don't know why I'm the one that gets nailed, and I get called in, and they tell me I got a rat on everybody else, and I told them I'm not doing it. And they said, well, you got to go home. So they sent me home early. So my parents weren't expecting me to be there till Saturday, and this is Thursday. And they drop me off at the house, and I go up, and the door's locked. Nobody's home. And in the front door of the house, we had a little glass window that was about 5 inches wide and probably about 8 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
One single piece of glass. And it was locked up like Fort Knox. I didn't have a key. I didn't know where they were. I didn't know when they were coming back. So I punched out that little window, knowing that I'll just go buy a piece of glass and put the window back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back then that piece of glass was less than $1, so I could do that. But anyway, so I punched it out. I reached in, opened the door, got in the house, and I'm in my room. And back in those days, we had telephones on long cords, really, really long cords. And from where the phone is, I took it all the way down to my bedroom. I'm laying on my bed. I'm kind of wrapped up in this cord a little bit, and I'm talking to my girlfriend. Dad comes home, sees the broken window. He comes in, he's loaded for beer, and he blasts him down the hall, past the bathroom, past the refrigerator in the bathroom, or in this hallway, into the bedroom that I'm laying on the bed on. And he opens the door, and he's yelling at me. And I cover the phone. I said, I'm on the phone. Let me get off the phone. And he's not letting up. And then he reaches down and swats me. Bang. Pops me pretty hard. But anyway, so I hung up the phone, and I got up, and I put a shoulder into him and slammed him up against the fridge. And Mom's in the kitchen, don't kill him.
Because you're bigger than your dad at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the difference of 250 pounds, or 200 pounds probably, and his 150. And he certainly wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, he was in old-fashioned parent mode of, swat you upside the head for being an idiot.
Yeah.
And you're not going to take it.
No, I mean, we had too many different times where just, anyway, so, and Mom, like I say, Mom's screaming. And so I walked out, and I never came back.
And then, so where the U-Haul is over here.
Yeah.
And what's this drag right here? Is this 89?
This right here used to be a combination of 89 and 91 would come together right here. If you're going north or south, whether you're coming from the 98, which is from Arizona, or you're coming from the 91, which was Las Vegas, they came together right here. And this little stretch, like, again, we did a lot of trucks because that was the highway in those days.
Right, that's why Slim Olson's was so large.
Yeah.
They all had basically three different highways converging together right here at this point.
Right there. And we did a big business. I mean, there were days we'd do 60, 70,000 gallons of fuel a day. We had 16 guys on a crew, and we ran to every car. Every car got its windshields and windows cleaned, the tires checked the oil, checked any of the fuel levels, whatever the customer wanted, and whatever they wanted to buy in gas. We pumped the gas.
And since we're talking about Slim Olson's,
yeah.
The reason why you guys ran to every car, because there was a little station where you hung out waiting for somebody to show up, right?
Right.
But every person that pulled in got full service,
Full
which
service.
means you didn't pump your own gas.
No.
But why did you run?
Well, because we were told to, and also because there's sections where we were running to where the pumps were, and there were spots in this section where if you hit this spot, you were number one. If you hit this spot, you were number two. And the one you didn't want to be was number three, because number three had to pump the gas and talk to the customer. And that's where mistakes could be made. Pretty hard to make a mistake if you're number one doing the windshield, or number two doing that side of the car. And But number 3, pump the gas, made the change. And that's where you could make a mistake. And you weren't allowed to make mistakes. Mistakes get you fired.
Right.
So we would compete for those. So a car would come in, we'd all run. Now, it'd only take just a few seconds if there's 16 of you on a car. But now if there's 2 cars, now you're down to 8. If there's 4 cars, you're down to 4. And that's the way you did it.
Well, I had it in my head that the reason you were running out there is you wanted to be number 1 to talk to the customer and pump the gas because that was the guy that got the tip or something, or maybe it was the easiest job.
No.
But you're saying it was the opposite to that. The guy who got out the number 1, cleaned the windshield, and he was done, and he was back off duty and over to rest again.
Yeah. The guy that was subject to get
To scrutiny.
The scrutiny, because number 3, the guy that pumps the gas and talks to the customer, actually usually number 1 talked to the customer initially, but it gets turned over to number 3, and he has to collect the money and do that. It's number 3 that's going to make the mistake. When the customer come up, you just filled him up, and he said, "Oh, I only asked you for $2." Now you got to deal with that. And but in that case, you would have Mr. Number 1, that you'd call him back, and the 2 of you, and then if you needed to, it'd be the shift manager would come out and say, "You got a full tank of gas, you're getting paid." Or if the guy said, "Well, I only got $2," then if you thought he was trying to get to you, the foreman would send him around the loop center and drain the gas out. I mean, those are extremes. It didn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But that was the reason. It was competition. And we weren't allowed to sit down. There were no chairs in our little shack that I was going to show you. And I'll still show it to you. But it was
And everybody had their own drawer, like from a register standpoint?
we had these massive cash registers, and each cash register had 4 drawers. So we had 3 of them. So everybody had their own drawer.
So there was 12 drawers.
Yeah. Sometimes you have a little duplication, but you had these drawers, and every day at the end of your shift, your drawer was tallied to the gallon and to the cent. And if you were short, you paid the shortage. If you were over, you didn't get the overage. So, anyway, it was a great place to work. And like I started on another story, is Slim Olson. Slim Olson was a very tall man, probably about 6'4", 6'5". He had a humongous head. He had a little short barrel body, and then he had legs that seemed to go forever. That's why they called him Slim. He looked really strange. He would have been a very good candidate for Frankenstein. And he would cruise around the lot here, and that building was gone. That was part of the property. But he would just cruise around the lot in his Cadillac. And didn't bother any much. But every once in a while, he'd come down to the station. When he came down to the station, he'd pull up to the back door. Whoever's the closest would get out there and greet him instantly. And then he would say what he wanted, and whatever he wanted, it happened. And if he wanted to leave the lot, he didn't drive on public streets. That was relegated to 2 people. David Thiel, Spanky. Ross Baldwin, Fuzzy. And
Did Slim Olson give you the nickname, Fuzzy?
Fuzzy.
Did he give Spanky his?
Yeah.
So he was a man for nicknames. Something I've noticed you've done an awful lot with the different Buffalo Breaths and Bucks and the other buses and things like that you've...
Yeah, that's a Slim Olson trait.
So everybody gets a nickname if you like them.
Yep, if you like them. If you don't have a nickname, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So you were Fuzzy and Spanky. So you guys he took a shining to you guys, and you guys were the ones that would chauffeur him off the lot.
Yep. he'd say, Fuzzy, we're going for a road. And at that point, he'd get out of the driver's seat, and he'd get in the back. And then, wherever he wanted to go, that's where he went. Sometimes he would, I'll give you two really good stories on Slim. There was a brand new station that was opening up down the street, just a little bitty station. And it was brand new, and it was called Maverick. And they opened for business, with a little bit of fanfare, whatever they could. And at that time, gasoline was 29 cents, 29 cents and 9 cents a gallon for regular. And he posted his at 28.4.
So it's a
cent and a half.
Cent and a half less.
Yeah. Anyway, that's when Slim shows up. Fuzzy, we're going for a road. We jump in the car. I get in, and we drive down the street. He pulls in. He pulls in. He gets out of the car. I get out of the car, and he goes over to this guy and says, "Wanted to come down and visit you." He says, "I'm Slim Olson."
A man who needs no introduction, apparently, right?
Oh, yeah. You assume that everybody knows. And he says, "I've been here a long time, and I know you're brand new and new, so we're going to let this slide. But nobody posts gas prices lower than I do. Nobody. Now, you can be the same as me. You can be more than me, but you can't be less than me." And this guy, he kind of puffs up his chest and he says, "It's my gas station. I can do whatever I want." He said, "I'm just down here to tell you that this is the way it is." And Slim didn't get anywhere, but he didn't do any more than that. So we went up to the station, and we dropped to 27 and 5. 27.5. And little guy down the street went to 26.9. Down comes the Cadillac. "Fuzzy, we gotta go." Okay. We drive back down there. He said, "This is the first time I told you, and I just want to let you know. Now I'm telling you, you cannot post a price lower than me. And if you don't heed what I'm saying, you won't get to stay in business. And, I'll call to this and I'll do that." Slim, we came back to the station. We dropped to 19.4. It's the lowest gas price I ever saw. 19.4 is less than the price we paid for the gas. In fact, at the time, it was about 11 cents of that money was tax that went to the state.
So 8 cents a gallon is all he's collecting, and he's paying twice that or whatever for the gas itself.
Yeah.
So,
and we stayed there for 4 or 5 days. I mean, there were people coming in bringing glass jars and stuff, putting gas in them, anything,
because it was so cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Under 20 cents a gallon.
Oh, yeah. And anyway, the guy finally did bring his price up, and we ended it. But that guy really did well, because that's the original Maverick station.
Yeah. But Slim didn't put him out of business. He just got his message across that.
Yep, the guy did conform.
Because as I understand it, Slim Olson with 64, I have that in my head, 58 pumps was kind of the distributor for the area, right?
Oh yeah.
So
he had the rights to the state of Nevada for petroleum products. Any petroleum products that went into Nevada, period, he got a cut on. And that's because he grandfathered all that in from years before. Hatchco Oil, who used to take road oil out there, paid royalty to Slim because they were taking road oil that had the petroleum base.
So as the distributor, he probably could have made the Maverick guy's life a little rough
Oh,
to
he
begin
could have.
with.
He could have.
But instead, he just got his point across of, I will sell gasoline at a loss if it means putting you out of business.
Yep.
And I have the resources to do it. So
And
the
he
guy,
did.
so the Maverick guy understands. He gets the message. He conforms, and they get along ever since, type
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
And okay.
But yeah,
So that was story number one. You said you had two stories with slow
I
motion
actually have
filming.
3 now, but I have another one. This one, there was a fire out in Elko, and Elko was one of the places we had a station out there. And he sent David, Thiel, and I, Spanky, out there with one of our trucks that had a pump on it to go out and pump oil, or not oil, but pump water to this fire. We went out there for 4 days, and all we did was just goof off. But Slim had a girlfriend over in Elko, Rosie, and Rosie had a pretty nice little hotel, and we stayed there. Everything, food, everything was on Slim, and we pumped water for that fire. That fire was some kind of a motivation for whoever wrote the song for Johnny Cash, "Ring of Fire," because the fire actually totally encircled the city of Elko and was coming in. But that's a quick story. And then the next one comes down again. Look, we're going for a road. They're having a strike down at the American Oil refinery in Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And American Oil refinery had bought out Utoko, which Utoko, of course, was owned by Slim and some of the other old timers, and they bought it out. So he's a big owner in that refinery. And we drive down there. Slim's in the back again, and we come down the hill going into the refinery, and there's a picket line. And I'm going down, and Slim says, "Don't stop." I said, "What? Don't stop." I said, "Okay." Because we got we also had one of our tankers that he wanted to fill that was empty behind us. So I just keep going slow, but I don't stop. They're banging on the car, and when we get on the other side of the picket line, Slim says, "Stop." I said, "Okay, stop." Slim bails out. He says, "You want to fight? We're here. We're gonna get this gas picked up." I mean, he was an old man.
So he pushes through the picket line, and once he's got
Yeah.
the car on the inside of the
We
picket
got
line,
the tanker on this side and us on this side, and Slim out there, 6'6", 6'5", always wore black, looked like Frankenstein, and he's out there saying, "I'm getting my gas, and this station, this refinery is mine, and if anyway, he just went on and on and on. But they let him through. He went in, had that tanker filled up, and then we left. But yeah, Slim was, he was a funny guy. And you did what you said. When we were going to Nevada, a couple times I drove him out to Nevada. Oh man. I mean, you better have your foot right in the carburetor all the way across that desert in that Cadillac. I mean, we were flying 100 plus. He loved it.
So you're living at the age of 14, 15? What age are you that you're over at the motel?
15.
15. You're illegally emancipated, thanks to your dad. You wanting to buy a car at 16.
Yep. I had my blue and white Caliente was my car. $289.
How many hours did you work at Slim Olson's? And because you're at this point you're off to high school at 16, right?
Well,
because your birthday's in October and you
yeah.
went through as the youngest in your class, right?
Yep.
So at 16, you're a junior now.
Yeah, I'm going into the junior year and the senior year that I worked here. And at that point, my life became here. Got one more Slim Olson story for you.
Okay.
3 of us guys that work here, all of us with very nice cars. The guys that work here, one of the things that we were symboled with
The hallmark of
nice cars. Anyway, and I don't know why all 3 of us drove. That never has figured. I don't know what I was thinking, but we all decided we were going up to this. They were opening the Kemmer City reservoir to fishing. It had been closed to fishing for 10, 15, 20 years. And now they were going to open it. And the person telling the story, you were sure Moby Dick swam there.
Right.
So we get chatting and we decide we're going to blast up to Kemmer and go fishing. So when we got off work, all 3 of us, all in our own cars. I still don't understand that, but we drove to Kemmer. We got there in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning, and we decided we're going to sleep on the city hall lawn. Just sack out on the grass. We had our sleeping bags in our cars, and we stood up, lay down. About the time I closed my eyes, somebody's kicking me in the foot. And I look up and there's a cop. He said, "What you guys doing?" "Oh, we're going to go fishing." Tell him. He says, "We need to see your ID and stuff." Next thing I know, they're holding us. And they take us over and put us in this little bitty jail cell in Kemmer. And we're there. Supposedly there was a sporting goods store that was broken into over in Evanston, and because we had fishing gear in our trunks, and because we all had cars, we were suspicious, so we got arrested. And we're stuck in this little cell. Now it's morning, and they take us across the street to this little hotel, this little breakfast place. They said, "Order whatever you want, city will pay." I don't know whether it was me or who, but somebody got the brilliant idea we ought to have steak and eggs. And the little deputy just swallowed hard and said, "Okay." And then we go back. And then at lunch, they take us back over there. Again, same thing. Lunch, open, and we gorged ourselves again. I'm sure they weren't happy. But right after lunch, we get back and we're sitting in our cell. And in walks C.A. Olson, commonly known as Slim Olson. Slim walks in the door. And I hear it like it was yesterday. He says, "I understand you got some of my boys." And they said, "Well, who are you?" Slim always assumed everybody knew who he was. "I'm C.A. Olson." And anyway, he bails us out. He tells us to get back to work. But he drove all the way up there. And again, that's something that he would love just getting his teeth into. That's the kind of thing he'd like to do. So, but he came up there and bailed us out of jail. Yep.
All right, so how many hours a week do you think you worked? I mean,
60.
You'd work 60 hours in a week?
I'd do a shift.
And go to school?
Yeah. Well, no. When school was on, you got to understand, the first year was really hard because I had a full schedule. But my senior year, I only had 2 classes. I had 3 hours of auto tech from 5:30 to 8:30, and I had 1 history class. That's all I had in my senior year to graduate. So the rest of the time I was at Slim's. And other than sleeping, and I used to have a girlfriend named Rihanna, and Rihanna, when she'd get out of school, I'd be there to pick her up from school, take her home, and then I'd go back and get some sleep. But during the school year, I worked from 11 to 7 was my shift. I worked
11 at night to 7 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'd go to Auto Tech or whatever, and
I'd drive right from here. I'd drive right to the school, and I was in Auto Tech for 3 hours. And then at 9 o'clock, I'd go to my history class with good old Ray Briscoe. And then I'd go home and sleep. And then I'd go back and pick Rihanna up, take her and go back to work. And on weekends, I'd work. I'd work Saturday and Sunday every week. And they had what they called road crews. We took care of the lot. We took care of the shrubbery. We took care of the water system at Slim's house, which is it used to be up on the corner. Got tore down. It was really a beautiful home. But I'd go up and do the filters on his Weber water and do any kind of maintenance he needed up there. But it was good.
I'm trying to see what that says. That's just about an hour, so I'm going to stop it.